Hi, welcome to toddfun.com. Hopefully this will be really quick. I got to repair something, so I thought I'd share. I've got a beard trimmer here. I've had it for many years, maybe 10. I like to use it when I'm lazy and don't shave for a while. It's really good to whack off the beard, or even trim it if you want to have a little bit of a beard. But it won't charge anymore, and I'm going to try and take it apart and see if I can figure out what type of battery technology it uses for the charging. If I can figure it out. A lot of times you can't because they're unlabeled batteries and so forth. If I can't figure out the type of battery technology that it's using, then I'm going to hack this thing to just use my own power source, whatever that is. I just don't know right now, but by the end we'll know. And if that happens, that's okay, because it comes with a charger that would work if the batteries were good. But I got this from my wife several years ago, and as you can see, it's a little bit too phallic looking, to be sitting in the bathroom. So I won't miss it, really. So let's hack this and see if we can get working again. Looks like it just comes apart. Wow. It's not going to be hard at all. It's labeled nicely. Technology is, if you can see it there, nickel cadmium battery, and I'm sure the voltage is on there too, 1.2 volts. So this is going to be a piece of cake. This particular nickel cadmium battery has solder tabs on it. That's what these are, and we'll show you how to basically solder on a new nickel cadmium battery. The battery that's actually in here is a 700 milliamp hour battery, 1.2 volt nickel cadmium, and this one it's nicely labeled nickel cadmium, and it's 600 milliamp hours, a little less, but it's fine, and it's 1.2 volts. So this is going to be good for our needs, and I'll show you how to get this in there. And I know this was good when I got it, when I salvaged it, so that shouldn't be a problem. Now, what I find good for getting these off is I just grab them and I just yank them, and they tear. And that's okay that they tear, because there's still plenty left there to solder to. There, and that's gone. That's crap. It won't charge no more. Okay, I got this one side soldered already. I just went ahead and I put it in my vise here and used this helping hand to hold everything in place, and I got this soldered up. I'll show you the other side so you can do the same. Okay, we're doing the positive side now. We'll start by taking a little piece of sandpaper and clean the surface really well so that we can get a good solder connection. If it doesn't seem to cut it enough, you can always get a little file and just file it a little bit, and that'll cut a little better. Get you a nice clean, get down through that oxidation and give you a nice clean surface to solder to. Okay, you want to make sure it's a clean surface though. So I've got some 99.9% isopropyl alcohol I keep around for cleaning circuits and stuff. That'll be good for cleaning that contact. Get that clean it up good, and clean your other terminal as well. Next, you want to line this all up, so if you don't have someone to help you, get a couple of these helping hands and a vise, and just get everything lined up really nicely. All you're really trying to do is get that contact over top of that positives. Okay, now you can see I've got everything lined up good. I can see a little bit of that positive tip, and I can see, of course, my tab. Now it's just a matter of getting it hot really quick. We don't want this to heat up too much, because if it does, this battery can explode. This battery has liquids inside that, if they overheat, will expand and explode this battery. So because of that, we want to heat it up really quickly, and we'll wear some protection. To heat it up really quickly, we're going to use a nice big Weller gun style soldering iron, so we can get a lot of heat on it really quickly. so the battery doesn't have a chance to, the internal battery doesn't have a chance to actually overheat. This is a 100 watt, or 140/100 watt universal Weller solder iron. So we'll start off making sure everything's lined up good. One last thing for prep. The I have resin core solder, which will help clean the surface as I solder, but I like to keep a bottle of this liquid solder flux around. If I have a particular problem soldering or even unsoldering something, this actually helps clean those metals really good so that you get a better solder joint. And because we want it to be a really fast and quality solder joint, we'll add a dab of this to the surface. And this cleans up. If it gets a little messy, but it cleans up with just a little of that alcohol as well. Now for safety, I'm going to wear some gloves just in case this thing does pop on us. I'm also going to wear a safety mask and so I don't get any splatter in my face. So I recommend doing this in a well-ventilated area too. I pull the trigger on this big gun, it heats up pretty quick. I'll know it's hot when it starts to smoke really good, and I can pre-flux this a little bit just to make sure it's clean and can deliver good heat. And then I'll just shake off the excess. And I'm ready to go. I want to get a lot of heat on there quickly, so here we go. There, that's all it took. I heated up that tip really fast with this hot gun. Got the solder on there good. That tab is back on, and we're good to go. There, we have our battery soldered on, and we're ready to stick it back in. I'm noticing that there's of course a lot of solder tab left on this, and it kins short on the outside of this case, so I want to be careful and make sure that this doesn't short on the case. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in extra electrical tape before I put it together and make sure that nothing else shorts out, especially on this positive side. Okay, we got our battery back in. Now we just got to stuff it back together. Well, the battery's not even, it's together, the battery's not even charged, but it already works. So, let's charge it up. And we're back in our not quite so desirable charger. But hey, I got the right size battery technology, so I'm good to go, and the charging light is on. So, see how it goes after about a few hours charging. There we go, we're all done. I got a nice clean shave. It knocks off the stubble, and then a razor to clean up the rest. That's how I tend to shave when I let it go too long. So, works good. Smells nice. Good for another 10 years maybe. I don't use it that often, or recharge it that often. Now, if you don't want to go through all the trouble of using this salvaged battery, you could, of course, once you get it open and realize what kind of technology, battery technology you have, you can order online these particular type of battery you need with the tabs already spot welded on, and then you can just drop it right in. But you do want to pull it apart and find out exactly what battery technology you have, so that you can order the right materials. But sometimes those things can be expensive, and then the shipping, and it kind of doesn't really justify the cost. And well, if you fix things yourself, you do things yourself, go ahead and follow these instructions, get yourself a couple of tools, be safe, and you can fix these things and use them for years and years, because usually that's about all that goes wrong with a lot of stuff that are rechargeables. Those batteries just only last if you charge them often, they only last a year or two. If you don't charge them as often, like this thing, you can get 5-10 years out of it. So there you go. One less thing in the landfill. Okay, we got one more thing we can fix. Has to do with replacing rechargeable batteries, and that's this timer. It's a really nice Timex timer. We used it for every Christmas for as long as I can remember, probably going on 7 to 10 years, I guess. and it's a really nice timer because it has these ability to set all different types of on-off cycles for your Christmas tree lights, or whatever else you wanted, but we use it for Christmas tree lights. And you can have different times a day, multiple times a day. It's really easy to program. Like I say, used it for years, really like it. Hate the fact that it doesn't keep the program anymore. The program, as soon as you unplug it, as soon as that thing pops out of the wall, that program goes bye-bye. That's because there's a rechargeable battery in here, but not a regular like AA, AAA kind of thing. It's a coin cell. That makes it very difficult. In fact, it almost makes this disposable consumer product, because little tiny coin cell rechargeable nickel metal hydride batteries, if you can find them, they run about right about $12, which, even though this is so nice to have for having different times on weekends and different times during the weekdays, it doesn't justify the price. But if you hunt around enough, you can have the option of finding a nickel metal hydride rechargeable that doesn't have the kind that you can put into a PCB. Specifically, I've already taken it out. I already took it apart. I'm going to show you the circuit and taking it apart here in a second, but I already took it out. This is it right here. It does have, boy, it's hard to hold. It does have the little leads on it. Okay, it is got the rating on the side. I don't know if that's going to focus. So it has all the information I need. It's a 1.2 nickel metal hydride, 1.2 volt, 40 milliamp hour rechargeable battery that's got the solder tabs, just like the other one we did earlier. Now I could technically try and tear those off, but you don't really have to, because they're just going to go into a board. You could just solder some wire leads right onto the battery, like we did before, but we'll be doing a little coin cell like this time. But I happened to be, when I found the battery, when I found the actual same technology battery and size, it was in a battery store, like Mad Batteries Plus. I got it for like $4, and I just bought like a little handful of solder tabs for PCB boards. They come in handy anyways, and that was like another $1. So for about $5, that makes it pretty reasonable for $5. If I could fix this for $5, then I'll keep it for another 10 years. Otherwise, this would be another item in the landfill. So I'm going to show the inside of the circuit a little bit, show you a few extra safety features for working with little tiny coin cells, and should be wrap up pretty quick with this. I am actually going to cover the circuit board in here a little bit too, and just in case you're interested in how some of that works in here. Okay, has a couple screws, took those out already, and this slides apart. Has on this one, if you press right here, there's a couple clips right under my fingertips there. When you press, then they unhook. There, it comes apart. There's a little spacer in there to basically just insulation. This is a power board in the bottom. Some plastic covers. And this is the timer. Normally this would actually be, you could actually sit without this plugged in and just sit and program it, as long as it had that battery charged up. And that makes it nice to sit at the table and program this thing, and we can't do that because no battery. The battery was, see, I'll put the battery back where I found it. It even has the board is actually marked plus and minus battery. So it was just in like that, and whoops, we'll replace it just in that same position there. But we have to basically solder tabs on a new battery of the same technology. That would be where your Christmas tree lights would plug in, and then that big relay clunks on and off based on the timer circuit that's up here, and that's of course going to be controlled by a small transistor right there. Not much else really too terribly interesting with this circuit. We have power coming in, neutral coming out. Over here you have a bit of a bridge rectifier, and the bridge rectifier is outputting a pretty clean half volt ripple signal without a transformer of any kind, which I think that's pretty interesting that they just do that flat out like that without any kind of transformer or anything. And then it's got a voltage divider to knock down the voltage a little bit, and then it goes over to this area of the circuit, which I scoped out, and it was knocking it down to 2 volts. So you get 2 volts, nice clean. Really, actually, with the other components in there, passive components, it's getting about a 30 millivolt to 30 to 100 millivolt ripple 2 volt signal to this point. So this runs on about, well, actually it runs on about 1.7 volts because there's another zener in there that drops at another 0.2. But that's the circuit. It needs the battery in order to maintain the programming in here from Christmas to Christmas, I guess. Now normally I do have to plug it in and let it charge up after it sits all year, but at least once you plug it in and let it charge up overnight, then you can program it, at the kitchen table. And so that's what we want to be able to do again. We don't want to have to, actually normally we'd have to sit and program this thing right up against the outlet. For the last couple of years I'd actually sit on the floor after plugging it in and then program it, and that's a real pain, especially if there's a power outage. So we want to get a new one of these in there. Okay, this is the replacement battery. As you see, I had to buy one without solder tabs. That was the only way I could get it cheap enough, like $4. And I got a handful of these solder tab pins for like $1. And then let's go on to the next step. Okay, I've got my button cell and my little vice clamp. I've got my helping hand holding one of those solder tabs. I've already sanded both sides of the button battery, so it should be good to go. I'm taking the same precautions, wearing some gloves, some eye protection, and I did one extra thing on this. I actually put this in the refrigerator overnight because I want the innards of that battery to be as cold as possible, so that when I go and apply heat to it, that heat will heat the metal surface quickly with this big gun, but the innards will take a little longer to heat up, and I don't want this thing to pop on me. That would be unfortunate. So I'm going to try and get the gun real hot, and then once I see it steaming real good and it's good to go, I'm going to try and solder that tab on as quick as possible. Okay, let's see how well this goes. Okay, I'm going to get my iron on there, get some heat going. There we go. Okay, now that got pretty warm. I mean, that's hot, clean through and through. So I'm going to go put this back in the refrigerator a little bit longer, get it cold again. I don't want to take a chance of that heat building up too much on that battery. And we'll be right back. Okay, I've taken the next pin and I put a little bend in it, a little loop in it before I solder it on, because after looking at the size of the battery and the shape, I kind of want to make sure that I come around the edge of the battery a little bit so that I don't actually short it out, and plus I can get a little tighter base pin that's more closer to the original battery's dimensions. I'm going to start by using my flux again so I can get a nice clean solder joint quickly. I got all my protective gear on. There. Now we got the tab soldered on. You see that little bump there? That's make sure that it comes around the negative, doesn't touch the positive shell. And even though this is looks like a little bit bigger battery, it is the same technology, and it is going to charge at the same rate and everything. So it's a drop-in replacement, just a slightly bit bigger form factor, but should be good. Okay, I've got the battery back on the PCB board, and I did bend the leads just a little bit more because it had to fall back a little bit to make sure it was out of the way of everything and wouldn't touch anything. And so now we just solder that on, making sure we have, of course, have positive and negative correct, which I did. Just a piece of sanity. Check my voltage to see if there's any voltage on there yet. I didn't even check that yet. Yeah, it needs to be charged. That's what I figured. Okay, clip those off real short. Right in the face, don't you know it? Okay, now I just gotta slide it back together in this little case. There, put the screws in. And you just charge it in, plug it in the wall and let it charge overnight. Because it's a pretty slow trickle charge. Sure enough, I was correct. It needed to charge up. And after charging it for a couple hours, I just pressed the reset button for a count of 2 and it came right on. Not plugged in at all. So, there we go. All fixed up. Timer's still running. It's good for another 5 or 10 years. Doesn't go in the landfill. Love this thing. Don't throw stuff away if you think you can fix it. Sometimes it's tricky. Sometimes it isn't worth it, of course, because sometimes if you don't find reasonably priced battery replacements, then you really just have to throw the stuff away. And I was being extra safe because you start soldering little tiny coin cell batteries and those can blow up pretty easy. A lot of nasty stuff can come out of them. So sometimes it's just safer and better to just throw these things away and start over with something new. But this one's really nice. I haven't found one quite so nice yet. I'd much rather fix it because I can. And if you have a device that just needs a rechargeable battery replacement, I showed you a couple different ways of doing it, how to be safe. So get out there, fix stuff. See ya.